Good evening. With just 2 games left of the regular season for most teams, there are still plenty of issues to be resolved in the End Power Football League. Amongst those, QPR's possible promotion and Stockport and Barnet battling to maintain their league status. Steve's with me to bring you bang up to date with the day's key events. And Lizzie wants to hear from you on the texts and emails.
Yes, and talking of QPR, what do you make of yesterday's report in The Sun claiming they're heading for a big points deduction? Neil Warnock understandably was pretty unhappy about it. Also, if yours is one of several teams in Leagues 1 and 2 still scrapping for survival, this could be your last chance to put your message to the team. We know they're watching. You never know, it might make the difference. You can text us on 81111 or send us an email to footballleague@bbc.co.uk.
Yeah, thanks, Lizzie. Well, there's plenty of drama in store. Here's what's coming up tonight. After Monday's stumble, QPR had another chance to secure their place in the Premier League. The long-time leaders made the short journey to Watford in a bid to finish the job. The race for second place in League 1 between Southampton and Huddersfield could go down to the final week. We'll see who's favourite to make it to the Championship after today's games. The battle for survival in League 1 is just as tense. Swindon are gone, but who'll be joining them in League 2 next season? We'll bring you the games involving those teams down at the bottom.
And on the subject of League 2 in Lancashire, 2 of the Football League's minnows were facing contrasting fortunes by the end of the day, with Accrington Stanley looking to book a playoff place and Barnet hoping to avoid a second relegation to the conference in a decade.
Well, we start at the top of the Championship, where QPR had some unfinished business to attend to at Vicarage Road. Rangers, of course, needed just a point to ensure that they'll be playing Premier League football next season. A win, though, over Watford would see them go up as champions. Norwich and Cardiff, by the way, both play on Monday night, while below them, the jostling for that final playoff spot in particular was showing no sign of letting up. So as far as QPR were concerned, a point over Watford and they'd be promoted. But they were up against a Hornets side who'd beaten them 3-1 already this season. On hand to see whether this would finally be Rangers' day was John Roeder.
1 point for promotion, 3 for the Championship title. Sounds simple enough for QPR until you realise that the 2 teams they still have to play, Watford and Leeds, were the first 2 sides to beat Rangers in successive matches back in December. 2 changes for Watford. Marvin Sordell, who scored twice at Leicester on Monday after coming on for the injured Andy Weimann, continues with the Austrian still out. Will Buckley replaces Mingoya. A late change for QPR. Goalkeeper Paddy Kenny suffered a shoulder injury during the warm-up, so Radek Cherny comes in for his first league appearance of the season. Clint Hale is out injured, so Matthew Connolly comes into the defence. Away we go then. Queen's Park Rangers just 90 minutes away from a return to the top division in English football, relegated from the Premier League in 1996. Here's Tommy Smith. Played in by Taarabt. And into the side netting. An early chance for Rangers as Scott Lodge just left that one alone. The ball whipped in by Taarabt. And that wasn't too far wide at all. Forward by Farlane. Awkward bouncing ball for Connolly, but he kept it in, and that's a difficult cross for Loach, who has to make the save in the end from Helgeson. 2 good early chances for Heide Helgeson. Connolly keeps it in. Loach was coming for the ball and then decided not to, and it was a good decision from the Watford keeper. Routledge popping up on this near side. Queen's Park Rangers left. Routledge, who's on loan from Newcastle. Everyone expects him to rejoin Rangers. Should they go up? That's a free kick. Foul by Cowie. Adel Taarabt, 18 goals this season. Will he go for goal from here? It's Taarabt. It's straight at Loach, who's lost it. Oh, what a chance. Helgeson following up, and it came off a Watford man last of all. Taarabt firing this one in, and it was just cleared away. Chase on for Graham. Ball gets there first. Farlane. Smith. Look at the room that he has to run into. Taarabt on this near side. Finds the Moroccan. Tarapt up against Hodgson. Back into the middle. Farlin! Oh, it's over. Alejandro Farlin looking for his first goal this season away from Loftus Road. Would surely have had a better opportunity than that. Always prowling the touchline. Always on edge. Looking for the point that his side need to go up. Awkward bounce. Shitu with the header. Picked up by Deeney, who gets away from Connolly. Deeney with the ball in, Graham just wide. Arguably the best chance of the match so far. Great persistence here from Troy Deeney. Gets away from Connolly. And Graham with the header that flashes just past the post. Plenty to ponder for both managers. Chances for both teams. Shitu with the free kick. Oh, awkward one for Taylor. He couldn't quite get there, and in the end it's put behind by Hodgson. Bounce taking it away from Helgeson. QPR's first corner of this second half. Tarapt with it. Played out to Farlin. Oh, what a good save that is. Loach pushing it over. Everybody expecting the conventional corner, straight to Farlin, who connected very well with it. Flying save from Loach. Away by Gaunt. Deeney's there again. Back by Farlin. That's a corner. Cherney couldn't prevent it going behind. Corner taken quickly. Deeney with the shot and deflected away. Queen's Park Rangers almost caught sleeping there. Smith in behind the Watford defence. Tarapt! And Adel Tarapt has put Queen's Park Rangers in front at Vicarage Road. And is that the goal that brings the championship title to West London? Huge relief for Neil Warner. At last a goal to celebrate for the travelling supporters. And Adel Tarapt has got it. 19 goals this season for the Moroccan international. And he's set up here perfectly, just having to readjust his position in mid-air. Just there. But able to just tuck it past Scott Loach. And Queen's Park Rangers lead at Watford by 1-0. Helgeson able to hold it up. Tarapt looking to curl it in, and he wasn't too far wide either. Tarapt had only one thought in mind: bottom corner of the goal. Just put it the wrong side of the post. Full time can't come soon enough for those QPR fans. Free kick then to QPR. A goal here would surely seal it. Uzaki pushed away. Loach with his second excellent save of this second half. Loach getting across to palm it away. That was heading in. Forward by Hodgson. Farlin. Oh, missed completely by Bennett. 2 against 1 here now for QPR. It's Tarapt. Helgeson. Helgeson with the chance to finish it, and the former Watford man puts it over. They're so close. Nice run! That has sealed it! Queen's Park Rangers are in the Premier League as champions! It's the second goal at Vicarage team from Loftus Road are returning to the top division for the first time since relegation in 1996. It's a fantastic finish. Tommy Smith firing it in low, past Loach. And the former Watford man takes Queen's Park Rangers to the top division.
We've been a great group. They've got some character. We've got bread and butter players, and then we've got, the quality as well. So it's been a fantastic season for me. I've never enjoyed myself as much in my life, if I'm honest.
How good is it to work under Neil Warnock, who seems to have very much brought out the best in you?
Yeah, of course, for me, he's a manager who gave me my chance and trusts me a lot. And all the time he's been there for me, even when I didn't have a great games. All the time he comes speak to me and he gives me all the time my chance. So I enjoy every single minute to work with under Neil Warnock, and I hope I can still play for him for a long time.
Long overdue a goal, to be honest, myself. So personally, it's great to get there. I think it's been a couple of months, so personally that was nice, and to get the assist as well. It's a good afternoon.
And hanging over you, of course, is that FA inquiry. You've maintained all along that the club will not receive a points penalty.
Well, what I've just said is I'm totally happy with what I've heard from our barrister. One of the tabloids has made 2 or 3 stories in the last couple of weeks, never done one fact about the actual case because they don't know any facts. Their source at the FA, they say. Well, my source tells me that their source at the Sun newspaper, it's in their office. That's what my source tells me.
We certainly gave a real game to QPR today and had them in the back foot for an awful lot of that game. And, I think on another day, probably, it's at least a draw. If not, we don't nick it.
This is special today because I thought I'd be retired by now, and instead of that, I've got the best team I've ever had, and I've loved it. The fans have been superb. The people behind the scenes, Gianni, Amit Bhatia have been fabulous, and it's just been great. Even Flavio, Burnley, they've been right supportive, and it's nice to sort of repay that by getting them where they want to be. Whether I'll ever last there, I don't know, do I? QPR.
Well, many congratulations to Neil Warnock and to Queen's Park Rangers, of course. Interesting what Neil Warnock said just then, because, I was bewildered. I saw newspaper reports last week saying that they might want Marcello Lippi, Gianfranco Zola to take charge of them next season. But surely Neil deserves another crack at the big time.
Well, it's not even worth talking about, is it? It doesn't always go hand in hand. You bring there is such a thirst for change. It's quite ridiculous. There's absolutely no reason why he won't take them into the Premiership. There's absolutely no reason why he won't be there for a very long time. There's absolutely no reason why he won't continue to enjoy management because, as you said, he's got a good club. Yeah. He's got a good team. No reason why they can't go in there and punch their way.
And the turnaround in 13 months while he's been in charge from 20th to winning promotion has been sensational and quite fitting in many ways that Adel Taarabt get them on their way to secure promotion to the Premier League.
Yes, obviously a focal point of most of their play this season, and 1 or 2 other players who stepped up to the plate. Tommy Smith certainly, just of late, takes a slight deflection this, and what it does, it allows him just a little bit more time there, just to wait for the ball to come onto him as it takes a bounce, because it's spinning obviously from the deflection. But he hasn't made too many wrong decisions. Just allowing himself that little bit more time, opens himself up. It's a good finish, and he's done very well. It's going to be. I'm really interested to see exactly the way that he plays and the way that they play in the Premiership, and his role in the Premiership.
Yeah, he was in danger of losing it a couple of times, Adel Taarabt. Interesting, because he will be a marked man next season, and so he's going to have to obviously be aware of all of that. Obviously, there was celebrations galore. We saw some premature celebrations last week, of course, when QPR weren't quite sure of what happened with results elsewhere. But what must they be thinking inside after the back page headlines we all saw on Friday?
Well, there's nothing they can do about it. All they can do is do their job, which they've done fantastically well. They've won the division. They've done it the hard way. They've gone from the front and stayed there. They've been the team that everybody has looked to tug back, and nobody's managed to get up with them. So they are deserved winners. They've had a fantastic season. Look, it's out of their hands now. I personally, I'm in total agreement with Neil Warnock.
You're sticking to your initial view, which is it'll be a slap on the wrist and only that.
Well, I'm not. All I know is that it's obviously not as clear cut as some of the papers have made out, because the decision would have been made weeks ago and we'd moved on. So I think QPR, there's a little bit of confidence that they've got a decent case. So we'll have to see. There's always 2 sides, as we know. So I'm sure that both will be brought to the fore in this case.
Intriguing few ahead. ahead, to say the least. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Norwich and Cardiff aren't in action until Monday, so let's take a look then at the battle for the playoffs. Leeds and Burnley met in the lunchtime kick-off at Ellen Road. A win for Burnley, or a healthy win for Leeds, would lift them into the top 6, for the time being at least. Well, Leeds made 3 changes to their starting lineup. George McCartney and Neil Kilkenny were both drafted in, while Robert Snodgrass missed out with a back injury to be replaced by Ross McCormack. As for Burnley, they were unchanged from the team that drew with Portsmouth. A must-win game then for both teams, watched by Jonathan Ledgard.
Gradle twists and turns, almost confuses himself, but this is good play. McCormack trying to set up Painter! First chance of the game, and more encouragement for the Leeds strike force. Gradle, such a tricky competitor, but he left his markers, and when it came to Painter, that wasn't so far away. Rodriguez caught there by Gradle. That'll be a free kick. Really coming to his own, Jay Rodriguez. Best season so far, and he's got 14 goals to show for it. A run by BK, the decoy. Duff goes the other way. Iwelumo jumps, comes down to Duff now. Good save by Schmeichel. Did he take that full in the face? Whatever, it's kept the ball out. But watch Iwelumo here. Under a challenge from O'Brien, seemed to go down there, seemed to be held. Duff was through, good save. There's another view of it, and you have to say Iwelumo could have a good shot for a penalty there. And this is Howson, with McCormack and Painter up ahead. Here goes McCormack. Good turn of speed. Now supported by McCartney. McCormack again. There's another Burnley defender comes back as Painter tries a header. Good save by Jensen, was scrambling all the way. It's another chance for Leeds. Another save by Jensen. But Leeds just have the extra edge at the moment with the possession, and they've given Jensen more to think about as McCormack through. McCormack and scores! Ross McCormack, what a day to score his first goal for Leeds United. Leeds have to win. McCormack had to score. Lovely ball through and a perfect finish. He knew where the goal was, he knew how to finish. First time shot, and Leeds are in front. Gradle's joined the attack too. Painter in the area. Looking for Painter, could be a free header, and it is, but well met. And again, alarming gaps within the Burnley defence. McCormack allowed to run into free space. Painter pulled away from his marker. Gradle was unmarked as well. But it's still 1-0. Kilkenny picks it up though. Leeds pushing forward. Painter's made a run forward. This could be 2. Crosses it out. And again, Burnley's defence lived dangerously. Eddie Howe will surely not be pleased. Simon Grayson more than happy as Painter got away from his marker and the goalkeeper. The angle too acute. Painter unable to make that chance tell. But look at the space he had, and Gradle as well. Gradle takes a bit of a hard challenge there by McGann, and this is where it's all going to boil over. The referee had to be quickly. And this is where tempers are starting to fray. There is so much at stake. The referee standing aside, standing apart. And still, the referee is just waiting, while the players almost are allowed to sort it out themselves. It was a late challenge high on Gradle. It's hot, it's tense, it's passionate. And now, what will the verdict be? That's McCann booked. Lee High getting his yellow card. Kilkenny will be booked as well. Good header, good save by Jensen. Fine chance there. How did Jensen keen that out? Instinctive from Andy O'Brien. He met that absolutely perfect, did the Leeds centre defender. Great delivery, great cross, and Burnley still alive. A second Leeds goal then, and they could have been sunk. McCormack tries a shot, just scrambling past, and Jensen just saves. That could easily have crept in at the far post, but the big Dane really has earned his recall, and he flung himself there. Mears will find Rodriguez, who gets past his man, and that's Naylor who's adjusted to brought him down. Leeds captain unimpressed. There did seem an instruction there. Wallace is there, Eagles is there. Wallace will take it, drives it in, and tipped over by Schmeichel. Good save. Made it look routine. That was possibly going over, but he certainly had to get rid of it. Into the final minute. Corner for Burnley. Good punch by the keeper once more. Comes to Elliott. Blocked by O'Brien. Still not clear. It feels like a championship for Leeds. It's a home win. And crucially for Burnley, it's an away defeat. As Sanchez, what goes forward, can finish it. Drags his shot.
Very disappointed. I didn't think we played like we can. Credit to Leeds, I thought they closed us down very well. And it was a scrappy game, and we were on the wrong end of the scoreline.
The manner of the performance was very pleasing. With the ball we created some real good chances. Without the ball we were hard to beat, kept a clean sheet, and deservedly so won the game.
What do you think that means for your playoff hopes now?
Well, we'll wait and see, but I think it's going to be very difficult for us now. The teams obviously play this afternoon, but we're envisaging that's going to be the end of our challenge.
It's inevitable that you'll be looking at it at times, but we can't affect that. I'm not going to get too worked up over results and worry about things. It's hopefully the results go for us, and we're with an opportunity still next weekend.
Leeds' victory put pressure on Nottingham Forest for the final playoff place. They needed a win to keep the gap to 3 points. Meanwhile, anything less than 3 points for opponent Scunthorpe would confirm the relegation that already seemed inevitable. And sure enough, the hosts took the lead inside 10 minutes. Chris Boyd on the end of Paul McKenna's pass, and the Scotsman had his 5th goal since moving from Borough last month, where he'd only scored 6 all season. They went further ahead when Luke Chambers met Chris Cohen's corner, the ball crossing the line according to referee Dean Whitestone. Honduran midfielder Ramon Núñez has impressed for Scunthorpe since signing on loan from Leeds. When he went down under Chris Gunter's challenge, it gave his team a possible route back into this game. Michael O'Connor's penalty was emphatic, the celebration muted. Scunny boss Alan Nill had suggested that it was his lower league experience that got him this job, and it looked certain that it would come in useful when Forest added a third after the break from Paul Anderson, who'd just come on as a substitute. With a win here, Forest could only get caught by Leeds on goal difference. Chambers' second added to his team's advantage in that column too. A third in 2 games for the defender, 4-1 and victory assured. And then, in the final minute, a free kick to Forest. Rob Earnshaw wanted to take it quickly. Too quickly, according to referee Whitestone. Already on a yellow card, he was punished for that impatience, and Forest were down to 10. The free kick still had to be taken. Chris Boyd waited for the whistle this time, and a second successive double for him made it 5-1. Forest have refound their form just in time. Scunthorpe are down.
Swansea's 4-1 win over Ipswich ensured there was no repeat of last year's near miss as they went into their match with Millwall with a playoff spot already secured. Kenny Jackett's side would miss the playoffs thanks to Forest's win. The Lions hadn't lost to the Den in their last 6, but they went behind on the half hour. Darren Pratley's 9th league goal of the campaign. 1-0 to the Swans. Ex-Swans boss Jackett saw his current side's defeat sealed by Stephen Dobbie. 2-0 the final score. Until Monday at least, the Swans keep alive their slim chance of automatic promotion. The Lions can take pride in a strong first season back at this level.
We've done very well to keep it open up until after Easter, and only 2 games of the season left. You know, we've kept that door open all of the time. So, you know, frustrating day to day, but we can look back on a strong season overall.
Brian McDermott's Reading needed a point to cap an amazing 3 days for his chairman. John Medeski was 70 on Thursday, went to the Royal Wedding on Friday and hoped for a playoff place on Saturday, what you might call a Blues and Royals double. As it was, games elsewhere meant this result wouldn't matter. But Shane Long didn't know that when he created a wonderful chance for himself and blew it. Andy Thorne agreed to take the Coventry manager's job on a permanent basis during the week after an impressive run of results. And in this week of all weeks, it might have been fitting if a man called King had scored the winner, but Marlon was off target, and Reading will hope they can do better with their shot at the Premier League.
Very, very relieved. That was a tough game today. I thought they played well, Coventry, passed the ball well. We had a couple of chances early on in the game. But we had to hang in there and get the result. The last thing we wanted to be was looking over our shoulder next week against Derby. So we've got the point that we needed, and I can only just congratulate our staff and players.
Even before their trip to Hull, Dougie Freedman's Crystal Palace looked safe enough in the Championship. A point would make sure against Hull, whose playoff bid was ended by results elsewhere. Jermaine Issa not quite sharp enough here for the away side early on. Nigel Pearson's Tigers began the day with an outside chance of the playoffs and did what they could. Anthony Gerrard put Hull ahead on the half hour. Palace brought on Ibra Sakasa late on for his senior debut. The 18-year-old's first game, first touch, first goal. And the one to guarantee the Eagles' safety. Now that's what you call a dream debut. So both sides will meet again in this division next season.
Nice story there at Palace. We'll talk about them in a second. Now, it looked like Leeds were running out of steam going into this weekend. I mean, they needed that win, didn't they, against Burnley? And for them now, the playoff dream is very much on.
Well, it is. I mean, it's an outside chance at that because of Forest's demolition of Scunthorpe. But what I liked about Leeds was the way that there was almost a renewed vigour about their performance. And
you like their front two, don't you?
I do. I like the way they interchange. They remind me a little bit of Holt and Jackson at Norwich. You can see here just a little dovetail there. One goes one way, one goes the other. One's prepared to run in behind. Billy Paynton will come short. McCormack will stretch the defence, gives you an option. And the best partnerships are players who are exact opposites, and that's what those two are. They want to do totally separate things on the pitch, but when it matters, it combines very nicely.
It's taken a while for both of those players to let their Leeds careers take off.
Yeah, I mean, that possibly might be the difference between, things happening a little bit too late for Simon Grace, and you look as if they've got a little bit of an edge to their game, and as I say, there's a belief and they got after Burnley very early in the game and kept that tempo up and deserved winners in the end.
Well, as you quite rightly mentioned, that result means for Leeds that they're on the coattails of Nottingham Forest. 3 points shy. They've moved from 9th to 7th. Forest, final day of the season, go to Crystal Palace. Leeds at QPR. I mean, I suppose Forest, they're in the pole position now, aren't they?
6 goals. Go to QPR. No matter what you say, QPR will be professional to the end. It's what people expect of them. And I'm sure Leeds will be disappointed that Scunthorpe were thrown in another reasonably poor performance and has probably put it all but sealed their 7th position, and they won't get a playoff spot unfortunately. But Forest, they've been up there all season, so that I don't think you can take too much away. You won't begrudge them a playoff spot.
Not at all. Huge relief for Dougie Freedman at Crystal Palace. Second bottom back in November. They're now safe, courtesy of this point. In fact, the point was irrespective, but because of results elsewhere, they're safe. But what a debut goal from this man, Ibra Sakasa. 1 touch, 1 goal. Maybe one person to look out for next season.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bad at getting the younger players through at that club. I mean, there's been 4 or 5 who've come through the system and done very well. And he looks like another one. He only signed his professional contract 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure whether you don't want to peak too soon. That's the thing.
I think his feet have touched the ground.
Congratulations, though, to him.
Yeah, well done to him. So Palace survive. However, earlier we saw Scunthorpe's defeat confirm their relegation from the Championship. They, of course, join Preston in League One next season, leaving just 1 relegation place to be filled. And going into the weekend, Sheffield United were bracing themselves for the dreaded drop.
A recent upturn in form had given Sheffield United the most slender of survival chances, albeit only mathematical. Barnsley hadn't won at Bramall Lane in a decade. Mind you, the Tykes did beat the Blades at Oakwell back in December. It was 1-0 on that occasion, and they took the lead here on 15 minutes. Danny Haynes with his 5th since joining from Bristol City in January. The home side had to win and hope for favours elsewhere. They were level before the break. Matthew Loughton rising highest to meet Lee Williamson's pinpoint free kick to level things. Loughton could have put United ahead shortly after, just unable to keep his shot down. A win for the Blades, imperative to keep those slim survival hopes alive, and they took the lead thanks to Barnsley keeper Luke Steele. Williamson's shot crept through to give United the lead. But 6 minutes from time, the Blades' fate was sealed. Matt Hill, the provider, and Haynes on hand again to double his tally and consign Sheffield United to League One football next season. It finished 2-2. United boss and fan Mickey Adams hoping it's only a brief stay in the third tier for the South Yorkshiremen next season.
I think that there will be talks about the future of the football club in the next week or so. Ultimately I would like to stay. I think that today's a really disappointing day, but ultimately I would like to celebrate a return to the Championship next season if possible.
Although Sean O'Driscoll's Doncaster didn't know it at the time, Sheffield United's failure to win meant any result against Leicester would have seen Rovers safe. They knew a draw would be enough whatever happened at Bramall Lane, but with no win in 10, that wasn't inevitable. But they breathed easier when Steve Brooker's second-half strike put Donny ahead. His first goal for an injury hit 2.5 years, and the joy was understandable for both reasons. Sven-Göran Eriksson's Leicester's hopes of making the playoffs were all but ended last weekend. Yakubu made sure they would have the share of the points in this one with his 10th goal for Leicester since joining from Everton in January.
Founded in 1878 by the great-great-great-uncle of current club patron Philip Hope Cobbold, Ipswich Town were proudly an amateur team until 2 years before they joined the Football League in 1938. They're the only club to have provided 2 England managers. It was after Alf Ramsey arrived at Portman Road in 1955 that things really began to take off. He took Ipswich into the top flight for the first time in 1961 and then confounded the football world by winning the Division 1 title at his first attempt. After a short period in the doldrums following Ramsey's departure to lead England to 1966 World Cup success, Bobby Robson took the reins.
Should buy a better pen than this.
During his 13 years in charge until he took the national job in 1982, he won the FA Cup, the UEFA Cup, 9 times finished in the top 6 and twice finished runners-up for the league title. 1980 was also the year when 7 Ipswich players appeared alongside Bobby Moore and Pele in the cult football Prisoner of War movie, Escape to Victory. With Kevin Beattie and Paul Cooper used as Michael Caine and Sylvester Stallone's body doubles.
A bit, huh? Should take up golf.
Their recently acquired Tractor Boys nickname, based on the local area's agricultural heritage, was not universally popular. Former manager Jim Magilton once said it conjured up images of carrot-crunching yokels. Mick Mill's 741 games in 18 years is a club record. Ipswich are the only club to have played in all 14 rounds of the FA Cup, from the extra preliminary to the final. They've been playing at Portman Road since 1884. In its early years, it incorporated a tobacco processing plant. It's also hosted whippet races and American evangelist Billy Graham.
Ipswich really out of form. Their last 2 games, 5-1 and 4-1 defeats. Jason Scotland's been out of sorts too. His first goal since February put Town ahead against League One bound Preston. North End had won just 9 league games all season. Any hopes of a 10th in Suffolk were smashed. Ian Turner couldn't hold run and Murray's shot. David Norris mopping up. That's 11 for the season in all competitions. Preston's aim now is to avoid the wooden spoon and bottom place. They got one back after half-time. Paul Coote's first league goal of the season in his side's penultimate game. Preston rallied late. Martin Fulop kept Jamie Proctor from equalising. 2-1 Tractor Boys in the end. Phil Brown's North End, well, they're propping up the rest.
Derby and Bristol City have not ended the season well. City had conceded 6 in their last 2 games, Derby 7. It was Robbie Savage's last home game before retiring, and his dad was there to see it. The Robins' record at Derby wasn't good before today. They'd lost on their last 4 visits to the club, but they took the lead here after 6 minutes. On-loan keeper Brad Jones unable to stop Jonathan Stead's effort, not what the Savages came to see. The Rams did have their chances to pull one back. Theo Robinson found himself in space, only to be denied by Dean Gherkin, and James Bailey couldn't follow up. The visitors were without a win in 5, but finally made sure of the 3 points midway through the second half. Derby's attempts to play intricate football in their own area backfired. Now, Cole Scouse doesn't score many, but when he does, they're worth watching. It was his first goal since 2009.
Win for City, that's certainly not the last home game Sav or Derby were hoping for. So now we know the identity of the 3 teams relegated from the Championship: Preston, Scunthorpe and Sheffield United. And Steve, interestingly enough tonight, the Sheffield board, they've admitted to the mistakes that they've made in the past.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, often when you get this situation, it is a collective responsibility. When sides get promoted, it has to start. The top has to be right all the way through. And clearly, I think it's 4 managers this year. Huge debts that they've managed to build up. Obviously, spent money that they haven't got. And long term, it's going to take a little while probably to turn everything round.
Yeah, the rebuilding process starts now at Bramall Lane. Let's get to Championship fans, hear what they've got to say for themselves. Lizzie.
We're going to start with QPR, of course. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, we want to talk about this thing about the Sun. I know some of you may have seen it, but for those of you who haven't, it was yesterday. The Sun claimed that the FA think QPR are guilty, basically, of breaking the third-party ownership rules over Forlan, and that they could be deducted as much as 15 points, which would take them down to 5th. But the FA have denied it. There'll be a decision on Friday. We've had lots of you get in touch. Plenty of criticism of the league and the FA. Jeremy and Nick are just 2 of many of you who want to know why the FA have taken so long, because it's been since September they've been looking at this. Nicola says it would be great if we could have our moment in the Sun without everyone bashing on about the hearing. An anonymous texter said the Sun's report is nothing more than just trying to unsettle the best team in the league before a vital game. And Warnock said it did unsettle them, but obviously not that much because they obviously beat Watford. A few of you think it should just be a fine. Paul says it was the money men, not the fans, or the players, or the manager. Let the money men pay, not the spirit of the club. But Rich is one of many of you who wants to remind Neil Warnock, as if he needs it, about the whole Sheffield United, West Ham situation. And then another one says, I think it's fair punishment would be docking sufficient points, but leave them in the playoffs. A few Watford fans also want to get in touch about QPR fans today at Watford there. Apparently, Alex here says, I witnessed appalling scenes at Watford with marauding QPR fans. Reading in the playoffs, we had a few Reading fans. Palace save. Important win for Forest. Anonymous texter, though, says, please, Forest, flunk the playoffs. You're not ready to go up, and we who love you could do without the humiliation. Scunny, of course, finally succumbed. The disappointed Iron says we didn't even go down with a fight today. And finally, just going to finish with Sheffield United. Support for Mickey Adams despite relegation. Ben says he's finally got the players working as a unit. Colin says the board need to give him the funds so he can be back in the big time next season. Jodie says roll on League One and bring on the Wednesday.
We already knew that Brighton were going up as champions. The question is, who'll be joining them by finishing second? Well, it's either Southampton or Huddersfield, who've been going along neck and neck for some time now. Crucially, Saints have got that game in hand, of course. On Saturday, Southampton were in West London to take on Brentford. As for Huddersfield, they were at Brighton for the champions' last ever game at the Withdean.
No electronic scoreboard in Withdean's humble surroundings, a ground Brighton's fans are delighted to say goodbye to after 12 years, even if it has seen some excellent seasons. Huddersfield applauded the champions onto the pitch, then set about their task with gusto. Benik scoring inside the first 8 minutes, with the Terriers determined to keep snapping at Southampton's heels in the chase for the second automatic promotion spot. Saints inflicted Albion's first home league defeat of a season last week. Straight from the restart, Ashley Barnes was thwarted by Ian Bennett as the Seagulls showed they had no intention of suffering another setback. Soon after, Chris Wood went even closer. So Huddersfield fortunate to be in front at half-time, and just 2 minutes after the teams came back from the break, Lee Poutier's foul on Elliot Bennett handed Brighton their best chance yet to equalise. Ashley Barnes fouled to put away the penalty, but got lucky with the rebound. All the home side's good work was undone though just past the hour mark when Inigo Calderon's mistake presented a phobie with his second of the match. Huddersfield's top 2 challenge up and running again, only for Albion sub Matt Sparrow to charge through the centre and slot home another equaliser. The drama continued right to the finish. The last goal ever scored at Withdean could be one Huddersfield will always remember. There was a weary look to the champions defending as Danny Ward made himself just enough space to fire a last-minute winner and make sure Southampton still can't relax.
We've got to give full credit to Southampton, done a fantastic run themselves, but we're giving them something to think about, so that's the most important thing. We've just got to try and keep winning. We're on an amazing run, certainly away from home. I think we've won our last 6 games on the road now, maybe more than that, I think 7, so we're going well, but we're pleased with the way that we're playing, and I think today was a tough game for us.
If Southampton keep on winning, there's nothing to stop them sealing second place. And victory at Griffin Park was never really in doubt once Adam Lallana rattled home a superb 16th minute opener. Not much Brentford could have done about that, but plenty they could have done about Southampton's second. Everyone stood and watched a Kelvin Davis free kick. Everyone except David Connolly, who poached his second goal from his last 3 matches. It was comfortable against a Brentford side who didn't offer much, but 9 minutes from time they won a penalty when Fraser Richardson fouled Miles Weston. Contact looked to be outside the box, but it proved academic anyway as Sam Saunders smashed his spot kick against the post. And any lingering doubts were erased when Oscar Goburn rolled in his first league goal in stoppage time. Southampton need one more win to be up.
Our focus is just solely on what we do and just concentrate on doing what we're trying to do to win a game of football.
So the race for second place in League One goes on for another week, and Huddersfield fans must be thinking after what was a great result at Brighton, what do you have to do to nail down second place? Because Southampton are matching them all the way.
They are, and they're in the box seat because of their goal difference, aren't they? And that game in hand, obviously. I mean, I was at the Brighton-Huddersfield game, and I know Brighton have been beaten by Southampton and Huddersfield recently, but no, they certainly gave a real good go at it, Brighton, and Huddersfield had to stand up and be counted in this game. They're under long periods of pressure, but they came through it, and as you say, they must be scratching. They're coming out of that game thinking, I'll tell you what, we must have given ourselves a chance, and then they see Southampton just increase that goal difference. So, no, it's Southampton to lose. It's as simple as that.
Well, as you said, you were at Brighton, so you would have seen the scenes of celebrations there from the players. It's been a long old haul for the Brighton fans in particular to be at the Withdean. It was always a temporary home, of course, but they leave, if not on a winning note, but with plenty of happy memories with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was trying to find some plus points about their move to the Withdean, and someone said that when they went there, they were in 20th position in Division 2, and they leave the Withdean going into the Championship. I mean, I don't quite sure that everything in between was quite so positive, but there's certainly been some ups and downs. But I think the one thing you said, it's better than playing at Gillingham.
And the Amex Stadium beckons for them. Well, as for the bottom of League One, it might be exciting for the neutral, but these are nerve-shredding times for those teams involved. At the start of the day, it was possible for both Dagenham and Redbridge and Bristol Rovers to go down if they both lost and Walsall won on Saturday. Plymouth, bizarrely, would still be OK for the time being, even if they lost because of their game in hand. We start with a resurgent Notts County, who are away to playoff-bound MK Dons.
Notts County haven't yet escaped the clutches of relegation, beaten by a Dons side already in the playoffs, but out to end a 2-match losing sequence. Sam Baldock put away Peter Leven's killer pass to put the hosts ahead on 52 minutes. A first defeat in 4 could yet hurt the Magpies, but they were almost back on level terms, only for a superb reflex save from David Martin to deny Carl Hawley. The second goal arrived just past the hour. Some quick thinking from Baldock at the corner had County scrambling to cover, and Angelo Balanta converted from close range, the Colombian's 5th league goal of the season. 2 minutes later, Lee Hughes popped up yet again with his 3rd in as many matches, but it'll be sweaty palms time next week as County could yet finish on the wrong side of the dotted line.
Walsall manager Dean Smith did a good job of looking relaxed, and the fans were thinking positive too. But their faith would have been tested to the limit if Charlton had taken a 2nd-minute lead. Paul Benson, the unlucky striker. Having started the day just a point above the bottom 4, the Saddlers couldn't afford to lose. John Macken and Will Grigg thwarted in quick succession as they tried to force the pace. And soon after the half hour, the home side made the breakthrough, this time Mackin teeing up Grigg. Smith had told his players just to enjoy themselves despite their precarious position, and now he says they have the chance to make themselves heroes on the final day when an upset away at Southampton would guarantee survival. Gray made this win more comfortable. If Saints aren't already promoted by the time the fired-up Saddlers arrive on the south coast, it could be a nerve-wracking finale for both sides at St Mary's.
Now we know why they had to delay their honeymoon. The newlyweds turned up in Essex for a big day on Dagenham's calendar. Walsall's win meant John Still's men couldn't afford to trip up against Carlisle, but that's exactly what Lubomir Michalik did to John Akindi to give the Daggers just the boost they needed. Adam Collin did brilliantly to deny Danny Green, but John Nurse's follow-up was just what the doctor ordered. The Carlisle keeper suffered a similar fate just before the half hour. He did well to keep out Akindi's fierce drive, but Nurse was first on the scene to put the strugglers in control. And 6 minutes from the end, Green ensured the Daggers' fight for survival would go down to the wire. A peach of a strike keeps their survival hopes alive. But the highly rated winger won't be part of it. A needless booking for a foul on Matty Robson earned him a second yellow card. A huge blow for Dagenham, who travel to Peterborough next week, where a win may still not be good enough.
With player boss Stuart Campbell nursing a dead leg on the sidelines, it was win or bust time for Bristol Rovers. But without their talismanic leader, they made an awful start. Gary Medine made the most of a trailing leg from the Pirates' Danny Coles. Rovers were furious about it, but referee Dave Foster pointed to the spot from where Tommy Miller opened the scoring inside 3 minutes. There was another spot kick awarded 9 minutes later, and not much argument about it either, as Lewis Buxton went through the back of Wayne Brown. But although skipper Will Hoskins kept his nerve for his 20th goal of the season in all competitions, that was the end of the scoring. Despite having the better chances, there was no way past Wednesday keeper Nick Weaver, although that didn't stop Hoskins trying. The point not good enough for the Gas. Barring some kind of mathematical miracle, Campbell will be combining 2 jobs for Rovers in League 2 next season.
Plymouth hadn't lost to Exeter in 8 years, and they'd won the last 5 meetings, a trend Argyle needed to continue with relegation a real possibility. But Daniel Nardiello had them living on their nerves in the first half. And just seconds after the break, Peter Reid's side was plunged into deep trouble. James Dunn's first goal of the season a stunner, with Exeter keen to underline their newfound status as Devon's top dogs. Plymouth pushed hard for an equaliser, Rory Patterson trying his luck from distance, aware his team's League One status was now in serious jeopardy. A game in hand meant Argyle couldn't be relegated yet, but they could have done without the offside flag which ruled out Rory Fallon's effort. The equation's simple now. Argyle must beat Southampton on Monday to be in the mix on the final day. Anything less and they're down.
They finished goalless between these two earlier in the season, and even though neither side had much to play for, they served up a thriller. Yeovil, chasing a first ever league win against Colchester, struck first. Craig Alcock gave them a 15th minute lead. The advantage was doubled soon after. Andrew Tutt's deflected shot had them in charge, and they should have been home and hosed by half-time. Yet more poor defending from the Essex club handed Dean Bowditch the chance to stretch the lead even further. Ben Williams doing just enough to keep John Ward's men in the contest. Colchester, who haven't lost to any of the current bottom half clubs, reduced the arrears just before half-time. Ashley Vincent's 5th of the season raised hopes of a recovery. But Bowditch made sure Yeovil's winning margin was restored a minute later, leaving their opponents heading to the break with a big job on their hands. But just past the hour, they were back in business. David Mooney swivelled neatly to pull it back to 3-2. The Reading Loneys' 14th of the season had the result back in the balance, but not for long. Just a minute later, Andrew Welsh smashed in Yeovil's 4th to ensure their final home game finished in style.
Paul Bodin has been placed in charge of Swindon till the end of the season, but their county ground hoodoo continued against Oldham. It's 14 without a win on their own patch now for the doomed Robins, as two superb strikes from man of the match Chris Taylor ensured that the points would be heading back up north. The first on 17 minutes, the second 20 minutes into the second half. And just like the first, all his own work. Latics skipper Taylor must wish he could play Swindon every week. He'd also scored against them in the 2-0 win at Boundary Park back in January.
Yeah, some welcome goals there for Oldham Athletic, but two huge wins for the likes of Walsall and Dagenham and Redbridge. But more importantly for the Saddlers under Dean Smith, destiny is in their hands, and that's what matters at this moment in time.
Well, it matters. I mean, Notts County, obviously Walsall in the box seat with regard to the three teams that are possibly going to get relegated, simply because of the teams that they play last game this season. You know, I think Walsall have got Southampton,
yeah,
which is obviously a tough game. Notts County will host Brighton, and Dagenham and Redbridge have to go to Peterborough. So Dagenham and Redbridge will no doubt hope that Peterborough put, every now and again. They don't play quite as well as they might do. They'll put in one of those sort of performances. It's three very, very tough games on paper.
Daggers will have to do without Danny Green, who's been in sensational form for them this season. Bristol Rovers, for them, their fate is all but sealed now. 4 different managers in the season says it all for them.
Sheffield United, it's, Reed, Bristol Rovers. I mean, if you get that decision wrong, then you're always going to be in trouble. And it's a big club. That's a big, big club at that level, and you just like to think that, next year they can do things right on and off the pitch, and that club, if it gets going, can have a good time.
Stuart Campbell says he wants a job. If they want continuity, they might not have to look much further. On to the playoff shake-up now in League One. We start with 6th place Bournemouth, who are hoping to cement their place in the playoffs when they travel to Hartlepool.
This was the day that Bournemouth secured a playoff place and Scott Flinders made history, although the Hartlepool keeper didn't make the best of starts. Harry Arter and Danny Ings creating the chance for Steve Lovell to score his first for the club. And Flinders' afternoon got worse just 9 minutes later. A real howler allowed Donald McDermott to double the lead. Just the boost they needed after picking up just 2 wins from their previous 10 outings. But Mick Wadsworth's half-time rant saw the home side raise their game after what he described as a woeful first period. And they were back in it when Royce Wiggins got too close to Leon McSweeney. Adam Boyd stepped up to put away his 4th of the season. But the promotion chasers missed the chance to restore their 2-goal cushion. Liam Feeney's cross caused havoc, the bar denied Lovell a second, and Flinders somehow managed to claw away the rebound. If that didn't earn him a few column inches, what followed certainly would. 4 minutes into stoppage time, Flinders entered the record books by crashing in a memorable equaliser. At least he didn't milk it.
Fresh from their biggest win of the campaign, Tranmere wasted no time in destroying Leyton Orient's playoff prospects. Just 8 minutes gone when Aaron Cresswell set his sights. That thunderbolt a shattering blow for Russell Slade's team, who'd entered the match 3 points adrift of the top 6. They went to the break further behind, squandering possession and punished by another fine finish. Adam McGurk that time, who also netted Rovers' 7th goal in 6 days early in the second half to end Orient's promotion dream for good. Even so, it's been a fine season for the O's.
Peterborough made a dreadful start at Rochdale. Gabriel Zakwani and goalkeeper Joe Lewis provided the comedy double act, but the joke was definitely on them, as Jean-Louis Akpa-Akpro helped himself to an easy opener after just 11 seconds. It's a good job Posh had already assured themselves of a playoff place, and they at least had the last laugh of the first half when Nathaniel Mendez-Lang headed them level. And Dale, whose promotion hopes were shattered over the Easter weekend, fell behind just a minute after the restart. George Boyd did all the hard work before teeing up Lee Tomlin, who netted Peterborough's 100th league goal of the campaign. But 3 minutes from the end, Craig Dawson grabbed a deserved equaliser for Keith Hill's men, who can be proud of what they've achieved this season, whilst Peterborough's dreams of an immediate return to the Championship are still alive.
So we now know the playoff situation in League One. Bournemouth now cannot be caught. Just to think they're 3 games away now from a possible promotion to the Championship. Terrific achievement for them.
Well, I mean, it's against all odds as well. I don't think you could get too many more barriers put up in front of you, and they've seemed to be able to overcome them. You budgetary constraints, your manager goes, your two top scoring centre forwards go, and yet still they succeed. Brilliant, magnificent achievement.
Roy, the Rovers stuff for Hartlepool, and you never get tired of seeing the Steer goalkeepers going up for a corner. But Hartlepool are safe. I'm not quite sure what he was doing up there in the first place, Scott Flinders.
Well, he was trying to make amends for the mistake, I would imagine, he made earlier on in the game. How many times do we see this where players make a horrendous mistake and then able to rectify it with a goal or some great bit of play, and he'll be pleased that he managed to put that on a good header as well, by the way. Got up tremendous, didn't he?
I think the strikers are under some threat there. Right, let's hear from League One fans. Maybe Bournemouth fans have been in touch. Lizzie, what can you tell us?
Yeah, they have actually. We'll come on to Bournemouth in a minute. But first of all, Southampton, Huddersfield obviously still battling out for second spot. Aaron says, Pompey, here we come. John says, there's no reason to be scared of Huddersfield. The Championship is calling us. Come on, you Saints. Just about every single terrier, I think, in the world has texted in an email tonight to remind me of Huddersfield's 24-game unbeaten run. Jack says, all we can do is keep winning and we'll get our Championship prize. You talked about Bournemouth. Well, I just think it's incredible what's happened with Bournemouth. Wendy says, I hope Bournemouth practice defending. This is the message to the Bournemouth team for the last game. I hope you practice defending set plays 24/7 for the next 2 weeks after losing the lead again today. A big win for Walsall. Again, more fans than ever before. Walsall have come out of the woodwork. Matt says, we were amazing today. Everyone played their heart out against Charlton from start to finish. Potentially huge win, obviously, for the Daggers. Dagenham Dave says, please compete, but do us a favour and let us win next week so we stay up. Andy has a question for Carlisle fans. He says, our manager, Greg Abbott, has steered us to 11th in the league along with winning the Football League trophy, but yet some fans are still calling for him to go. What more can he do? Get behind him for next season. Robert, Bristol Rovers fan, obviously there's some pretty upset Bristol Rovers fans around. He says, I haven't stopped crying since the final whistle. The ball just wouldn't run for us today. Plymouth obviously have a game in hand, so could still make the great escape. A few of you, though, don't seem to be pretty positive. Duncan says, to have a relegation sealed by our closest rival knocked me sick. I can't believe how poor we've been this season. And Matt says, I don't hold out much hope, but the players have done the club proud under the circumstances.
Thanks, Lizzie. To League Two then, where there's still plenty to play for. The leaders Chesterfield actually played on Friday night against a Torquay side looking to make the playoffs. 0-0 it finished, Guy Branson coming closest for Torquay. As for Chesterfield, well, their best effort came from Craig Davis, his long-range strike, superbly tipped over by Scott Bevan. Goalless then at Plainmoor. And this is what it did to the table going into Saturday's games. That point for Torquay meant that they moved into the top 7, for the time being anyway, with the battle for the playoffs intensifying. The race for third looked like it might be a straight fight between Wycombe and Shrewsbury. Well, Wycombe were actually up against Bury on Saturday. A win for Bury, and they'd go top of the table on goal difference.
Chesterfield's draw meant Bury could take a huge step towards the title, and things seemed to be going their way when Dave Winfield handled Ryan Lowe's effort. League Two's player of the season had the Shakers on course for a 7th successive victory. But Wycombe are hoping to join Bury in the third tier next season. Gareth Ainsworth kept their hopes of automatic promotion alive by heading their equaliser. Ainsworth then turned provider in the second half, his cross eventually reaching Ben Strevens, who poked Wycombe in front just past the hour. And Strevens popped up again 2 minutes from time to seal the points. A win at home to Southend next week will clinch promotion for Gary Waddock's men. Bury finish with a lap of honour to celebrate their success, with a civic reception planned after next week's trip to Stevenage.
Shrewsbury stay in the hunt to go straight up, thanks to a pinpoint strike from leading scorer Mark Wright. His 13th goal of the campaign, great news for the Shrews, who've yet to lose a game this season after scoring first. The bar prevented David Davis from stretching the advantage, while Cheltenham's Wes Thomas was denied by the woodwork at the other end. Just a point off third spot, Shrewsbury host Oxford in their final match.
You know, we're in there, we've got another game to go next week, we can only win that game and just hope.
Relief at last for a Northampton side who can finally banish those relegation blues. Liam Davis with a thunderbolt inside 3 minutes set them on their way in what proved to be a bad-tempered affair against Stevenage. The promotion hopefuls thought they'd equalised, but there's no conclusive evidence to prove that Chris Beardsley's effort crossed the line. Borough then did themselves no favours and were down to 10 men when Luke Foster went straight through Peter Bologna, Nana Ofori Twumasi, referee Paul Tierney reaching for a straight red. And just before the hour, the Cobblers made sure of their first win in 19 matches when Michael Uwezu released Kevin Thornton. His long run ended with a Chris Day save, but having started the move, Uwezu was on hand to put the finishing touch to it as well. Stevenage will probably need to beat Bury next weekend if their debut season in the Football League is to result in a playoff place, and they'll have to do it without John Mousinho, harshly shown red much to the fury of Borough boss Graham Westley. In contrast, Northampton manager Gary Johnson can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
It was a passionate game because both teams needed to get the result, but we were passionate but kept within the rules, and that was very, very important.
Gillingham's playoff hopes are in the balance after being ripped apart by Macclesfield's side, who are now definitely safe. A 3-goal burst in the first 17 minutes had the Gills on the ropes. Ross Draper smashed in the first with barely 3 minutes on the clock. The Gills, who slipped up to lowly Barnet a week ago, were stunned again just moments later. Emile Sinclair outpaced the home side's back four and then set up Colin Daniel to sweep in their second. Andy Hessenthaler's men are now without a win in 4 home matches. The Gills boss fumed at his side's schoolboy defending after this latest setback, although Daniel deserves credit for a terrific second that put Macclesfield firmly in control. But the Kent club headed for the break with at least something to cling on to. Mark Bentley heading the ball into the path of Danny Jackman to score his first goal in 4 years. But hopes of a turnaround disappeared just minutes after the restart as Macclesfield restored their 3-goal cushion. Sinclair's pace again had the Gills' defence in a panic, and a fabulous finish had them on course for only their second win in 9 matches. Joe Martin pulled one back with still 19 minutes left, but the Gills are out of the playoff places and head to leaders Chesterfield on the final day, needing a win and relying on a helping hand from elsewhere.
We've never given ourselves a chance in the game. We're always chasing it. We've had opportunities today, and another day again we could have a few more goals, but we can't keep defending like that and give ourselves a mountain to climb if we're going to think about winning games.
Rotherham have suspected as much for weeks, but now it's official. They'll still be in League 2 next season. Anthony Charles netting for Aldershot after only 5 minutes before Nick Fenton's disastrous back pass set Danny Hilton free. In the centre, Peter Vincenti finished the job, and the Millers were on course for their 7th match without winning. At least Fenton partially redeemed himself just past the half hour with the long pump forward which caught the shot snapping. Adam Lafondra had scored just once in his last 11 games as Rotherham's promotion push faltered, but he couldn't miss that one. The direct approach worked again soon after the break for Lafondra to add his 23rd league goal of the season, but a draw wasn't enough to keep the Yorkshire club's slender playoff hopes alive.
It promises to be a spicy off-season for Port Vale, but at least they're finishing in style. A magnificent 7 against Morecambe. The rout started by Louis Dodds on 17 minutes. And if Shrimps keeper Barry Roach was asking questions of his defenders then, it was a full-scale inquisition 4 minutes later as Mark Richards lobbed in the second. Morecambe were never really in it, although they were responsible for one of the best goals of the match. Top corner from Phil Jevons, his 9th of the season in all competitions. Thumbs up from him, but thumbs definitely down at the other end, where Justin Richards was allowed to waltz through untouched on 40 minutes. A dummy against a defence playing like dummies made it 4 in first half stoppage time. Sam Morsey and Justin Richards combining far too easily. Half-time usually presents a chance to regroup, but whatever Morecambe boss Sammy McElroy said during the interval fell on deaf ears because the statuesque Shrimp still couldn't get a tackle in. Dodds with his second of the match on 58 minutes. That felt good, but good felt positively great 9 minutes later as Dodds completed his hat-trick with a real beauty. Morecambe attempted to put a little gloss on the scoreline when James Spencer pulled one back with 11 minutes to go, but that merely left enough time to generate an argument over who'd be going home with the match ball. Justin Richards making it 2 hat-trick men on the afternoon in stoppage time. But Vale's biggest win of the season has come too late to matter.
Must make it all the more frustrating for Vale fans, but it just goes to show what happens when the pressure's off you.
Well, I mean, there was some real quality, wasn't there? I mean, goals just seem to get better and better, and it's one of them where people will be thinking if only.
But the pressure is on for Wycombe Wanderers. They put a massive dent into Bury's title hopes, didn't they? And no better time to put in your best away performance of the season, according to Gary Waddock.
No, taking nothing away from them, but there's no doubt that the promotion for Bury might have just taken the edge off them, like it has other teams. You think of your Brightons and your Chesterfields and even QPR up to a point. So decent time to play in, but no surprise there with their away form. And Wycombe, as I said before, they'll always punch their weight at this level. Sometimes they probably find it easy to get out of this division. It's the next one up that they struggle at, and that's the real test for Wycombe.
Gary missed both of Ben Strevens' goal. You know why? He was on the loo.
Right, well, maybe that's an omen.
Yeah, I suggest you take a novel with him next time. See what happens for the 90 minutes. Now, the one team in playoff contention who we haven't seen yet is Accrington Stanley, who started the day in 5th place. Stanley were up against Barnet, for whom defeat could spell relegation from the Football League. Clem's been along to see two teams desperate for 3 points, but for very different reasons.
Come on, Stanley boys! Resources would suggest that both of these two teams should be fighting for their lives at the wrong end of the Football League. But whereas Barnet do once again face relegation today, if this and other results go against them, Accrington Stanley have overcome recent financial problems and stand on the verge of the playoffs. They're billing this match as the biggest in over 100 years of football in the town.
Everyone associates Accrington Stanley, possibly with the underdog. And my old dad used to say every dog has its day, hopefully ours will be today.
We were 18th position in February and we kept winning these games, a lot of games in hand, and kept creeping up the table, but it's only really this last couple of weeks we've actually hit the playoff places, which has been fantastic.
Really big day at this club?
It's the biggest game in our history, without a doubt.
Barnet do have previous in dropping out of the league. They did it in 2001, returning 4 years later. They're still coming to terms with the departure of Martin Allen, who sparked a mini revival before departing for Notts County after only 3 games. We were with you the penultimate game of last season, fighting relegation. Do you worry you've found your level?
Pretty much so, but you were with us when we lost, so can you clear off, please?
You are getting a little bit used to this kind of situation, aren't you, at the end of the season?
We dice with death nearly every season.
What a big job you've suddenly found yourself plunged into.
I know, but what a great opportunity as well. 6 weeks ago when we come in, we said we'd have some fun. We enjoy our football, and that's what we've done, and nothing's changed. Training's been fun, been bright. They've worked really hard, and they've gone on the pitch every Saturday afternoon and Monday and done a bit for me. So I'm very proud of them.
You doing the team talk?
Right, lads, let's get on your metal today. Not going to be a walk in the park, is it?
What else are we going to do?
Just got to be on the front.
What are we going to throw at them?
The kitchen sink. Throw the kitchen sink at them.
I would genuinely hate to see Barnet go down. We've got a really good relationship with Barnet, fantastic people, and we've played them for a good few years now through the Conference Football League, so it'd be great for us to get the 3 points, but really don't want to inflict any kind of killer blow on them today.
Perhaps because it looks like a combine harvester has been through the middle of it, nobody gets much joy out of Accrington's crown ground. Barnet the latest to perish. Jimmy and Ryan setting Stanley on their way to their 10th win from their last 11 at home in the 4th minute. Not that the visitors gave up the ghost. The Bees' League 2 lives are hanging by a slender thread, but some comedy defending gifted Mark Marshall an equaliser just 3 minutes later. Nerves were jangling at the other end too. Barnet's 19-year-old keeper Sam Walker is on loan from Chelsea and doesn't look ready to supplant Petr Cech just yet. Ryan almost made him pay. That wasn't the last Walker had seen of the Irishman, but there wasn't an awful lot he could do as Ryan's deflected free kick put Stanley back in front on 56 minutes. Although they didn't know it at the time, results elsewhere meant victory would confirm Stanley's playoff place, and Ryan's hat-trick strike just 10 minutes later guaranteed it. They may have one of the lowest attendances in the Football League, but Stanley looked ready to mix it with the big boys.
Accrington Stanley history on your CV. First time in the playoffs. Many congratulations.
Yeah, first time for me. I think that my daughter's lucky cufflinks inside worked, so I've got my other two here. So yeah, smashing day. Great for the fans and more importantly, great for the players.
Well, Lucky Stanley provided one of the stories of League Two. John Coleman enters his 12th year of management at the club. And there they are in the playoff position, secure. Lost 9 of 45 this season, Steve.
Yeah, another outstanding achievement. It doesn't seem so long ago they had that tax bill of 318 grand and we were talking about them going out of business. So turnaround has been very, very swift. But you just get the feeling that they have worked extremely hard to get where they have.
And the importance of momentum at this stage of the season. Unbeaten
of course,
in 12.
I mean, at this stage of the season, the size of your club and the budget and whatever doesn't count for anything because they've got something going there. They look as if they've got a good thing going there. And as you say, that momentum going into the playoffs, they've hit it at the right time, hit good form. They'll fear no one.
Yeah, well done too to Jimmy Ryan. That was a quality hat-trick. So Barnet's defeat meant that their league status hung in the balance and their 6 years stay in League Two depended on results elsewhere.
Bradford City will want to put this season behind them, but the Bantams took the lead at Hereford. No doubt that Stefan Stam tugged at James Hansen, but a plunge Tom Daly would have been proud of saw the referee point to the spot, and Jake Spate converted with just 9 minutes to go. But Stuart Fleetwood's perfect free kick 6 minutes later, his 18th of the season in all competitions, gave Hereford the point that preserves their League Two status.
Lincoln headed to Oxford on the worst run of any side in the whole of the Football League. 7 defeats in 8 games left them in a perilous position, but Cian Houghton boosted their survival prospects by heading them into an early lead. That gave the strugglers confidence to push on for a second. Luke Howell inches away from doubling the advantage. The paintwork at the other end denied them too. Great build-up play left Ali Hussaini frustrated, and the result in the balance. Predictably, Oxford punished them just past the hour. Poor defending gave Asa Hall the chance to volley the home side back on terms. Shaken by the equaliser, Lincoln's hearts were broken 15 minutes from time when Tom Craddock hit the target to complete the turnaround. Steve Tilson's men will now go to the final day to discover their fate, and they'll have to make do without Danny Hone, sent off for a second yellow card for bringing down James Constable. A nail-biter with Aldershot now lies in wait.
Sighs of relief all round for Burton, finally safe despite falling behind at Southend, where Barry Corr moved his total for the season on to 21. Albion earned a point thanks to Scott Malone. The home defence too slow to close the door on the youngster, who had a spell on loan at Roots Hall last season. Burton's point was placed in jeopardy by a late red card for Jacques Magoma, who was on the receiving end of a heavy challenge, but then dismissed for foul and abusive language, apparently towards a section of the crowd. Southend ended the match a man like 2, Lee Sawyer collecting a second yellow in the last minute. It finished all square in more ways than one. Stockport's relegation to the non-league ranks for the first time in their history was confirmed by defeat at Crewe. Alan Goodall no doubt distracted by the presence of the prolific Clayton Donaldson as he put through his own net on 62 minutes. No sooner had the fuss died down than Donaldson had bagged one of his own, the striker's 27th league goal of the season, finishing off County for good.
Yeah, and Crewe will be keen to secure a top half finish come the end of the season. So now we know that, the Football League status hanging over the likes of Barnet and Lincoln comes down to the final day now. Barnet have done well, haven't they, to take it to the final day of the season?
They have, but as I say, ultimately, if you get relegated last game of the season, you get relegated with 20 games to go. I mean, it makes no difference, does it? And I think everybody is fully aware. Every Football League club is fully aware that getting out of the Blue Square Premier is an extremely difficult task nowadays. So
past the likes of Luton and Wrexham,
there's plenty in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. No win in 9 now. For Lincoln going into this terrible spell for them.
Yeah.
This was the goal that undid them at Cardiff. But just take a look. We have to have a look at this at the top of your picture, because 7,485 delirious Oxford fans celebrated this goal, and one arm. Just look through the gate as we go to the top here. It's like the scene from The Addams Family.
Exactly.
The fella can't see the goal, but he's celebrating nonetheless. Anyway, Lincoln versus Aldershot and Barnet versus Port Vale. The pressure's very much on those two.
It is. I mean, you know, you've got to say. I mean, that's the Port Vale result and the Port Vale performance doesn't augur well. But who knows? They're still, they're still alive. They're still fighting, Barnet.
They certainly are. Time for League Two fans to have your say. Lizzie.
Well, let's start with Barnet and Lincoln. Actually, obviously Barnet need a win and hope that Lincoln lose. And look out anyone on the streets of Barnet come next week if they win, because Callum says, I'm going to run down the street naked. That's how proud I'll be to be a fan of Barnet. Guy, who's a Lincoln fan, says we need as many people as possible to go to the last game to get behind the lads, and hopefully we will get the win we need. Aki obviously guaranteed a playoff place, good win for them. James says, how on earth is John Coleman doing all that with no money? And Unk says, it's a breath of fresh air to see a good community club doing so well. I know we talked about Bury last week, but this is nice. Clifford says, my son got back from his army tour of Afghanistan on Thursday. We watched the Shakers lose today, went for black pudding and chips, had a walk down Gig Lane for the first time in 7 months. Fantastic. Bring on League One. Big Wickham win, obviously, to keep them third. Susie says, a message for the team. Please just keep your nerve and play as well as us fans know you can. And the Shrews obviously just behind Wickham. And it's looking like that dodgy Wickham goal against them back in March could be crucial. Loads of you have got in touch. Dean, Jenny, Nick, Damo, Chris, Ian. Tommy says, what goes around comes around. We will win and Wickham will lose. And Damo says, if we don't do it, you think that we should win the playoffs at the third attempt. Northampton winning when it counts. Chris says, I never want to be in that position again. It was horrible. And finally, football's a funny old game. 10 years ago, Stockport beat QPR 3-0 in the old Division 1. How things have changed. Thanks for texting and emails. Sorry if I didn't read yours out. I'll see you next week.
Yep, thanks for all your messages. So with just 1 week left of the regular season, let's take a look at the table, shall we? Chesterfield need just one more point to claim the N-Power League 2 title, whilst wins for Wickham and Shrewsbury means they both are still vying for that third automatic promotion spot. Wanderers know a win at home to Southend on the final day will see them up. The race for the playoffs remains unclear, though. As it stands, Accrington are the only side guaranteed to feature. Stockport's relegation was finally confirmed after their defeat, but what a time for Northampton to get their first win under Gary Johnson. They're safe, which means it's now between Barnet and Lincoln for the drop. The Bees must beat Port Vale at Underhill next week and hope Lincoln fail to beat Aldershot. Southampton and Huddersfield keep going in N-Power League 1 following their away wins, although the Saints' superior goal difference means 3 points at Plymouth on Monday afternoon will put them on the brink of promotion. Whoever misses out will join Peterborough, MK Dons and Bournemouth into the playoffs. Plymouth must beat Southampton in that Monday encounter, otherwise they'll be down. Bristol Rovers almost certainly relegated given their goal difference, but Dagenham and Redbridge, Walsall and Notts County stay alive for another week. Although it doesn't get any easier for all of those sides, they face top 4 teams in their final games of the season. Well, QPR, they've done it. They're winners of the N-Power Championship, but they'll wait and see what happens at the FA this week, of course. Norwich and Cardiff resume their battle for second spot when they play their matches on Monday evening. Leeds and Nottingham Forest's only threat for the final playoff place, but they need to win and overturn a goal difference of 6. Sheffield United and Scunthorpe had it all to do on Saturday. As it happened, even wins wouldn't have saved them. So Doncaster and Crystal Palace will be playing Championship football next season, but Scunthorpe's 2-year stay comes to an end, whilst the Blades drop to the 3rd tier for the first time since 1989. Before we sign off, a reminder, you can see the show back again via the red button. It's till midday on Sunday and on Freeview till 11:30 in the morning. Failing that, of course, it's on the iPlayer all week. And for extended match highlights, they're available online on the BBC Sport website. For more football, join Colin for Match of the Day 2 on Sunday night. That kicks off at 10:25 on BBC One. And there's more from the Football League on Monday night. Late Kick-Off is back, and as always, we'll discuss the fortunes of the league clubs in your area at 10 to 11, and that's also on One. And we're back for what should be a cracking final day of the season next Saturday. We get underway at 5 to midnight. Definitely worth staying up for. Well, that's your lot for another week. Thanks to Lizzie and to Steve. We'll see you next Saturday. But for now, from all of us, good night.